And welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. It's opening day of the State League, Men's State League season. And this week we're featuring Surf Coast Football Club as our featured club episode. And joining me is the president, a good friend of the show and someone who's been on the show quite often, Brett King. Brett, welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast.
Tonchi, thanks for having us, and thanks viewers for letting us come back to the club. And we really appreciate being a supporter of the show and everything you bring to it. So,
yeah, before we start, thank you so much for that. The continued support that is greatly appreciated. Mate, what a big off season it was. Like off air, you were telling me there just is no off season, and this year was a particularly big off season. And in the local press, the Surf Coast Times, there was indications or suggestions that the club might actually hit the magical 1,000 registration figure. Has that happened?
Well, I'm not here tonight to announce that, but we're still running close to that, and we'll give it a fair nudge. So we'll wait until the final bits and pieces come in with some of our later landing teams and members, but we're very close to that, Tonchi.
So either way, it's just an astounding achievement, and you've been in the job. Well, this is what your fifth year as president, and you were telling me when you first started there was about 380 members. So the club's effectively tripled in the last 4 or 5 years. How do you handle such a growth?
Yeah, so that was our pre-COVID number, about 370, 380 people of members just before COVID, and then obviously coming back from that. Then that's it's not a me thing, that's a club thing, obviously. But coming back, going through COVID and then regrowing from there. Look, to be honest, it's always been our plan to really focus on participation, and we've been always about participation. It's doing what we can for the community to engage football, and our growth, as you said, has been significant. Nearly threefold in that period of time. We've really the Curva partnership was an important part of that. Some really important partnerships we had with some of the local community groups. The new facility up and running in that time. So a lot of things really going well for us. The Matildas having the World Cup, a couple of years ago on the back of that really spurred a lot of growth. And just 4 or 5 of those things all really coming out at once. Yeah. And then that spurred participation, but really importantly, it spurred volunteerism from our point of view with regard to coaches. Yeah. This year, whilst we go close to the 1,000, we'll have 83 odd teams.
83, and that means 83 minimum coaches, plus assistant coaches, plus team managers, plus volunteers. That's just an incredible thing. Now, you touched on about 3 things that we'll elaborate on. The facilities, absolutely unbelievable facilities. The view up there is probably one of the best in Geelong football, in my opinion. And, has that helped, or how much has that helped as far as creating a social element to the club? Not just, you mentioned participation, parents coming, dropping their kids off, picking them up and going home straight away, or people coming here, watching the game and going straight. But nowadays, people hang around. There are club events. There are all those things you couldn't do before that you can now.
Yeah, that's been critical. So that's what's, we've always stayed close to our community, and that's been the biggest growth we've got from our new facilities, is maximising that. So we now do dinners Wednesday through Saturday, through club dinners. Encourage all our players to come up for club dinners. Friday night's our mini roo night, and there's best part of 500 kids here and 50 odd teams of mini roos, 11s and unders here. So that's crazy busy. And obviously home games for our senior women and senior men. We have food on for that as well. So that's enabled our members to stay around and participate. The club rooms being open more often than not. It's enabled parents when they're watching the game and when they're watching their child play or just hanging out. A real social aspect to that, which has been important. And as you alluded to, events. With the Women's World Cup was massive for us, and we would have talked about that a few years ago. But events like that, we had Ladies' Day last year, an event for that, and multiple other events. We do wellness sessions upstairs and advisory and lots of those things. So the connection to the community is a really important part for us. And maybe the best way to explain the success of that is probably the number of sponsors we've had to the club coming through. Pre-COVID.
We must mention New Flow Stadium, New Flow Plumbing, because they are the naming rights sponsor. We haven't had that for ever and a day, I suppose, here at this club.
Yeah, we had Mitch Cohen board with us through New Flow, and it's been an amazing thing for us. And, we still have Torquay Hotel as one of our major sponsors as well, and lots of gold, silver, and secondary sponsors as well. And that bit's been huge for us. So by having the facility, by having a big and growing club, by having an inclusive culture, that's caused a lot of parents to want to come out and be associated. That's caused a lot of local businesses to want to come out and sponsor our club and either donate in some cases or just sponsor from the point of view of really getting their brand out there. So we do all we can to try and promote that. It's important for us. And the New Flow Stadium is a really important part of that. And just promote our brands and sponsors, because that's what helps us grow as a club and offer great facilities and keep our rates low and then encourage participation. So That's important for
now,
us.
mate, we've worked it out. If all things going according to plan, there's going to be at least a 15% growth on numbers from last year. So getting back to that magical 1,000 figure when 5 years ago it was a third of that. How do you, as president, manage that? I mean, obviously you've got a great team, but do you have to consistently add to that team, put on subcommittees and task forces? How do you manage to get that participation, the social element of it, but also now, especially with the men's team jumping up 2 divisions in the last 2 years, having a little bit of an elite program there as well? You've got to cater for one and the other. You can't neglect one or the other, can you?
Look, 100%. There's probably a couple of parts to that question. So firstly, the growth part and the how part. I mean, a lot of great people, Tonchi. It used to be the club was run on 2 or 3 people putting a lot of graft in, and those people are still with the club and they do so much work for our club. Steve Christel and some past presidents as well, with Richard and Joe being still part of the club and coming back to our club. But to be honest, this year, especially this year, but also last year, we grew our committee from 6 or 7 to 10 people this year. We've got new people stepping up onto the committee. Because of a good culture and a good inclusive nature, people are happy to come out of the woodwork a bit and put their hand up. And then it's just a matter of finding the right role for great people.
That is a good point. That is a really good point, because a lot of people, and sorry to cut you off there, I got excited when I heard that point, is a lot of people say it's hard to get volunteers, it's hard to get people to commit, but when you create a purpose or create a role for these people, they do come out of the woodwork. And sorry, but continue that. That was a really
it's important. We've learned, trying to find the right role for the right person is for the right position is really important for us. From that point of view, the hard part is that a lot of people put their hand on taking a help, and they genuinely mean that. But also their expertise, they might come from a different field of an industry field, and finding the right role for them is a really hard part. So we've tried to break roles into micro roles and ask them to help in a way that best suits them. Instead of whatever our gap is. Because if we ask them just to fill our gap and we see a gap in a person, they don't always match up.
Yeah.
And often that can cause you sort of more harm than good. So we've really learned a lot about that. And as I'm sure all clubs have done over the years, but we're really focused on that now. And by having some continuity through the path, and even though I've been president for a few years, I've had some great people still be on the committee for longer periods than that, and a lot of people coming back to the club as well. That continuity of service really means we're not going over past lessons we've learned.
Yeah.
So we're working efficiently. Good people putting their hand up, a lot of great people putting their hand up and supporting, me in my role and taking some off my plate, which has been important. More committee members, more people happy to help, and more people bringing some expertise to the table as well. That's been important. The second part of your question was to do with balancing participation and community versus sort of more advanced programs, and whether that's advanced Kangas for our mini-roos, which we are doing a lot of. We had hundreds of kids come and try for our Kangas program, whether it's our CPL girls program, which we're into our 2nd year now, whether it's advanced boys program, just started that this year, and whether it's our Saturday men who are in state 2, and our women who now got 3 women's teams this year.
3, wow.
Instead of 2 last year, so that's growing. All of those growth things have got growing pains potentially linked to them. And it just needs a lot of procedure and process. A lot of people thinking about how to best work things, a lot of thinking on our feet, a lot of sort of, failing fast, trying things, see what works, see what doesn't work, tweak it. That's a big learning process for us, and I'm sure other clubs have gone through that or go through that at different times as well. So, but probably the major point of that working well is great people being around the club for a long time that have learned already or have brought those learnings from other clubs or from their youth and applying that to our club. And so
really interesting.
We just tend to get a few more of those right than wrong is probably what we're doing more often at the moment. We don't get everything right by a long way. We make a number of mistakes, and we 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of thing sometimes. So that's how it works. But I think I and the people around me are sort of knowledgeable enough and have the strength of their conviction to learn from those mistakes or those misgivings.
Yep.
To then keep moving forward and keep that presence to move forward. So that's important. That resilience is a
resilience is a good word. We're speaking with the president of Surf Coast Football Club, Brett King. Brett, we're standing on the main pitch here at New Flow Stadium. We've got to get that right. To our left over there is the artificial pitch, and that's been around for quite ever and a day. In fact, it was the first artificial pitch here in Geelong. Over to our right is the pitch number 3, I suppose. 3 pitches, certainly not enough to cater for almost 1,000 players with all varying different programs. You're mentioning something about the artificial pitch at the moment is going to get torn up.
Yes, so The artificial's about 15 years old. It had an initial lifespan of about 10 years when it was developed for the type of facility it was. And the council, we're working with them. They've got some budget this year to do the strategy around the replacement of it. They've got budget for next financial year to then go replace that. So we're really excited.
Wow, that's great. That is good news.
That's been a lot of negotiation, discussion, and planning with the council. And they really do have our back. Obviously, we're part of the Surf Coast Shire, and that's important.
Just to interrupt you, how do you find the Surf Coast Shire with their attitude towards football, our football?
Oh, look, mate, they're community people. They want to see the community's facilities get used for the greater good. It's a constant discussion. They've got their hands tied as much as any other council, and their money's tight in a lot of cases. The Shire is, investing in a lot of things, and we have to just compete to some degree.
And that's my question, because over on that far side, there's a new hockey pitch. Over that side, there's an aquatic centre being built. There's a brilliant basketball stadium over there. And just behind us, I was going to call them the Gold Coast Suns. That's how much I follow AFL. The Torquay Surf Coast Suns, that's the one. They've just entered a senior men's team and women's netball team this year. So you're obviously competing. We're wedged right in the middle, literally, competing with a lot of different interests. And is that where lobbying and having some good friends in the community is really important to get what we need, basically, not what we want, what we need?
Look, absolutely, and it gets back to what Football Victoria Geelong are doing with regard to Mike and the team lobbying on the behalf of having the regional facility. These are long-running conversations, and they require justification, business cases, lobbying, good relationships. They require election commitments. They require a lot of different functions to get right. And we're no different just for us in our own facility. So we've got good relationships with the council. They do what they can for us. We compete with other sports for funding, but it's, they're also aware of, and we help promote the amount of great community service we provide by using their facility to provide the service to their ratepayers.
Yeah.
And as much as we can do that, then that'll let them just shine a light on it. It's a 2 or 3 phase approach. The council can only do so much. So the council's budgets are more business continuity sort of maintenance. We know that the major money comes from state and federal money.
And that's important because this year, obviously being a state election year, it's going to be really, really important to try and tighten some of the promises happening from various political parties. But getting back to the pitch over there, there's long-term or medium long-term plans for that. We're hoping that might be an artificial pitch as well.
Yeah, we've opened the conversation to it, having the number of players that we have now and trying to look at for some
1,000
growth.
plus, remember, 1,000.
Certainly next year, we'll see if this year. And we've also got another facility that I'll come back to. We're sort of looking to put some games on it as well. But the third pitch, we really look at that being, the prospect of that being a high-level artificial pitch. The 2 grass pitches we have are good when the weather's good.
Yeah.
If it rains, they flood within a moment. They require a big investment to go and correct that, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's a lot of money. And that money being spent on our major pitch is important. But on our third pitch, if you like, if we can get that across to artificial, we can really put the load through it that we want.
Yeah.
We can run that from 4 o'clock to 9 or 10 o'clock every night of the week, and for Saturday and Sunday for games. We can get the load through it to then protect this pitch and to use the secondary pitches we can.
Yeah.
And it's the trust in that. We keep having to cancel training, and no one loves that. They get frustrated by that, as everyone does. So for us, having a grass pitch over there is fantastic, and it looks good, but it's just not resilient. It's not trustworthy.
Well, from my time at Football Victoria and dealing with councils, Surf Coast amongst them and City of Greater Geelong, I think the equation was 20 hours of usage per week was the ideal. When you've got 900,000 players, it's probably impossible to keep it, 2 or 3 training sessions. You've got to have 1 training session. And then there's that overflow problem. But you did mention there is another ground that you do have access to.
Yeah, so this year we've already started in the off-season training on it. And during the season we'll use a facility over at Conowari, which is sort of wedged between sort of here and Bowen Heads. Really great bit of grass, actually. It's 2 football pitches over there, 2 full-size football pitches.
Yeah.
So we'll use them for some rare junior games and relocate some of our facilities there, goals and whatnot over there. There's some good community facilities there with toilets and a hall and a few other things. So it presents quite well. That'll let us overflow from a game point of view, because what we don't want to do, cancelling training is annoying for all of us.
Yeah.
Cancelling games is really frustrating. And if they're competitive games, or if they're non-mini-roo games, we've got to reschedule them. Well, rescheduling games for us midweek is almost not an option because we've got, we're so busy with training. So
and that's a good point.
It creates a bigger problem. So we don't want to be cancelling games or postponing games. It just doesn't work for us. So trying to look at how we can grow, but sustainably grow both the facilities we've got and also looking at secondary sites is important. That's something that that we've done okay with for the moment, and we continue to focus on.
Goodness me, I'm ready for bed. I'm absolutely knackered after listening to that. You certainly have got your hands full, that's for sure, Brett. But it certainly seems that it's doing really, really well on the field and off the field. And we're going to talk to Ash Carthew, the assistant coach, after what was a very climactic end to the first game in State League 2, a 2-2 draw after, 5 minutes to go, is 2-0 down. But you must be pretty happy when all things are said and done to see State League 2 football being played here, men's State League 2 football, when, maybe 3-4 years ago, that was probably unheard of.
We sat in State 4 for a lot of years, and we got close, and we missed by a spot or two a couple of times, and to get promoted last year and get promoted again is, it's a great test of the skills and expertise of the people that are around us and that came through. And to see today's game, first game of the season, is really exciting. It's obviously the first kickoff game apart from Australia.
A beautiful day it was,
lovely day as well. And you get to speak to Ash Carthew, and Ash is also our junior advanced technical director, our advanced juniors technical director as well. So bringing Ash back to the club, he was with us for a while and went across to West United, and bringing someone like that's expertise back to support our senior setup and also be our juniors TD is an important thing. And that's where we get to invest in great roles and great people to bring them back to sort of help us level up in what we're doing. So he'll be a great guy to speak to.
Well, Ash was on the show last year, so he'll be another person that's returning to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. On that note, we're going to take a short break and we'll be speaking to Ash. But in the meantime, Brett, thank you so much for joining us. All the best for season 2026 on and off the field.
Thanks, Dodgy. Appreciate it, mate.
Good
Have a
on
great
you.
year.